Hello, Dreamcast interest havers. It's James from GG Dreamcast here, and today we're just going to have a chill sort of session where we go through the EGM. It's EGM number 122. This is the EGM that would have accompanied the launch of the Sega Dreamcast. It's sort of the, as it says, the biggest 24 hours in entertainment history, the launch of the Dreamcast. It covers all of the launch games, the system, how it will change the internet forever. Wow, that's a big, it's a big claim. And the Dreamcast certainly did do a lot of that. It did change a lot of what console gamers thought of online gaming. But we all know the story of the Dreamcast. We're not going to go into that. We just want to today have kind of a chill, relaxing session where we're going to flip through the pages of this EGM and just sort of enjoy the memories of this magazine. Now, I got this magazine right around the launch of the Dreamcast, and this was a great magazine to look through to just get a taste of all the launch games that I couldn't afford or couldn't get at the time. And it was also a good look at things to come. Now on the front page we see Ape Escape. Nothing to do with the Dreamcast, but a very nice PlayStation game. Madden. We've got, of course, South Park, which was just everywhere at this time. And here we go, the front page, the editorial page, the biggest launch in video game history. And that ended up being true, as we know, well, most of us know now. The Dreamcast was the most successful video game console launch of all time at the time when it arrived. America's ready for the Dreamcast, and the Dreamcast is ready for America. Now, they talk all about what Sega intended to do with the Dreamcast and what we were going to see with online gaming and all of that good stuff. Here we see a nice 2-page ad for a Ready to Rumble box. And this game looked great on the Dreamcast. You can see, though, it was for many systems, PlayStation, Game Boy Color, and, of course, the Nintendo 64. But I remember the animation on the Dreamcast version just being excellent. Really good animation. But let's keep going. We've got some more ads here. Now, this isn't going to be I don't know. You're not going to get any YouTube reactions here. I'm not going to be screaming the whole time I'm looking at this. We're just trying to relax, have a chill little session of looking through a magazine here. Blue Stinger. Wow. See, look, 0 hour, $99.99. This was a launch title for the Dreamcast. This was the Dreamcast's sort of survival horror launch game. I just finished a complete playthrough of this and put it up on the YouTube channel for GG Dreamcast. So if you want to see that, just look for it on this page. You'll find it. But yeah, great game. The story that's important to me about this game is about the guy who created it. There's a guy named Shinya Nishigawa. And unfortunately, he passed away pretty soon after making this game and sort of a spiritual sequel. Not really a spiritual sequel, just another sort of survival horror-esque game for the Dreamcast called Illbleed, which is, of his two games, Illbleed is probably the better of the two. Blue Stinger's great. I love Blue Stinger, but Illbleed is definitely sort of Shinya Nishigaki's, I guess it would be his swan song, unfortunately, as he did pass away, like I said, a couple of years after releasing Illbleed. And I know that there were some people in gaming who were trying to get his two games, Blue Stinger and Illbleed, ported over to the Xbox, which would have been great because I can only imagine that those would still live on today with backwards compatibility. But yeah, unfortunately, if you want to play Blue Stinger or Illbleed, and I think you should if you're a Dreamcast fan or a gaming fan, the only place you're going to be able to play them is on a Dreamcast, which is fine, but I would like to see that man's games live on, because from the articles I've read about him, he was just sort of universally loved as a nice guy, a visionary, and a very creative game developer. So a little bit of a backstory with Blue Stinger and Illbleed. But here we Croc 2, another PlayStation game that I remember a little bit fondly. Here we go, Letter of the Month, Nightmare Cast. Will the Dreamcast save Sega? Only time will tell. Wow. This guy's just talking about how flawed the Dreamcast is. I'm sorry, Chris Vineyard. You're dead wrong on that one, pal. Oh, here we go. The response from the editor. In truth, Chris, you're probably being a little melodramatic. There we go. So if at any point you want to read these, just go ahead and pause the video. I'm recording this in 1080. You should be able to see the text well enough to actually read these articles. If you can't, if I see that you can't later, I'll probably just reshoot the whole thing in 4K. But as you see, Dreamcast is the big news story right here in this September issue. What an ad, huh? This is the heart. This is the soul. We knew that was coming, right? Soul Calibur. Now, Soul Calibur, another launch title for the Dreamcast, obviously famous franchise now. When this came out, this was a better port than the actual arcade game Soul Calibur. It had a lot more features. The graphics were better. The backgrounds were fully 3D, which the arcade version didn't have. Just a huge jump, and it was the first time really that people saw an arcade game where the port to the home system was better than the arcade. And that said a lot about the Dreamcast at the time. And actually, if you check out Metacritic today, you'll see that the ratings for Soul Calibur, this game is still the second highest rated game of all time on all systems, if you can believe that. That's how good this was when it came out. And it's tied with a lot of other games for having the best score all time, but it's among those second best video games of all time. It's right behind Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which in my opinion is an absolute masterpiece. So yeah, Soul Calibur. Great game. If you want a Dreamcast fighting game, you have to pick Soul Calibur. There are a lot of Dreamcast fighting games, but Soul Calibur is definitely one to own. And the good thing, it was so popular and it sold so many copies, it's super cheap. It's very abundant. It's not a rare game, so... Battle Tanks? I don't understand this ad, really. It's sort of using Wizard of Oz characters. A 3DO game for the N64. Let me know in the comments if you ever played Battle Tanks. I do not have any recollection of that game whatsoever. Sledstorm. What is this? This is a preview of the Final Fantasy movie that is coming. So as you see, you're getting whispers of PlayStation 2 here. Obviously, PlayStation 2 wouldn't come out for a little while, but you can see they were already starting to cover it, obviously. It's raining Pokemon. A couple of Game Boy Colors. Duke Nukem for the Game Boy Color. Wow. Bleem, PlayStation emulator arrives in stores. If you don't know what the Bleem is, this was funny. It was a... I guess an emulator that I know the Bleemcast for Dreamcast was a boot disc basically, and you would boot the system with your Bleemcast disc, and then you could put in a select few PlayStation games, like I think Gran Turismo, Metal Gear Solid, and they would sort of be like I don't know if it was upscaling, but the graphics would be smoothed out. It used a little bit of the power of the Dreamcast to make the PlayStation games look better. It was quickly squashed by Sony. So that was not a long-lived product. A nice GameStop ad with a bedpan. That's the kind of stuff you were getting back in the day. Again, there's another. These are the kinds of ads you got. The 64 disk drive, that thing. I don't know if that even made it to the United States. If it did, it certainly didn't sell a lot. NFL Blitz, of course, we all remember that. Oh, Shadow Man, okay. Nice 2-page ad for Shadow Man. This is another game that you can get on Dreamcast. Obviously, again, PC, CD-ROM, Nintendo 64, and PlayStation. Pretty good Dreamcast game. I'm pretty sure this one has a cult following. I definitely played Shadow Man quite a bit back in the day. I don't have much of a memory of it now. I didn't beat the game or anything, but definitely played with it. Here we go, top 10 arcade picks, NBA Showtime Tekken Tag Tournament. Buriki 1, don't know what that is. Oh, it's an SNK game. Must be a fighting game, right? Street Fighter, Crazy Taxi, Hydro Thunder, Ferrari F355 Challenge, Soul Calibur, Dance Dance, and NFL Blitz, of course. Here we go. This is a great... Look at this. Last minute updates. At the very last minute, almost literally, we got these new shots of Castlevania for Dreamcast that we had to share. Originally, this was a launch title, but it is currently scheduled for release in January 2000. Now, this has been in the news quite a bit recently on Dreamcast fan sites and video gaming sites, because this game obviously never came out. The Castlevania game for Dreamcast was canceled, and it never came out. However, the prototype version, which it looks like from the videos I've seen, I haven't played it, but from the videos I've seen, these screenshots look like what you can play in the prototype. But that prototype just leaked, and people, made sure to make ISOs or CDI files or whatever it is to allow you to actually play this prototype. So if you want, just go on the internet, you'll find it. You'll be able to play this unreleased Castlevania game. It's very, very basic. There's not a lot there, but as sort of like a Dreamcast historian, it's definitely interesting to look at. Whirl Girl, no idea what that is. Quay lands first PlayStation 2 game. This must be what is this? Well, it's a military strategy game. I don't know about that one. Square and Nintendo together again? Rockman. Video game gossip and speculation. Okay. Rumor, there will be a Dreamcast version of Driver. I don't think that ever happened. Rumor, following up from last month's ruler Soul Reaver, it seems there's some truth in talk of a possible Dreamcast version. That did happen. Soul Reaver did come out on the Dreamcast. Michael Jordan will be returning to video games. Okay. PlayStation 2 isn't just a games machine. Sony is working towards a set-top box strategy that would put the new PlayStation in the center hub of its home digital media system. Well, it did have a DVD player, which is one of the things that made the PlayStation 2 sell so many copies and inevitably beat the Dreamcast in the market. Single-player games will be rare within a year on the Dreamcast. Well, that didn't exactly come true. Dreamcast did have a lot of really great multiplayer games, especially notable in that really console gamers didn't have online multiplayer games before that. There were a few here and there, but the Dreamcast is the system that really launched online multiplayer for console gamers. Most notably, of course, with Phantasy Star Online, Quake 3 Arena, Metropolis Street Racer. There were quite a few. Rumor, theoretically, the Dreamcast could emulate a PlayStation easily, and the code to do so already exists. So that's, again, about that Bleemcast. Yep, talking about the launch of the PlayStation 2 here. Anyway, top 20 best-selling games of May 1999. Smash Bros, Pokemon, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, that's funny. Ridge Racer Type 4, Mario Bros, Mario Party, Siphon Filter, Need for Speed, Street Fighter, Triple Play, Rugrats the Movie. Who would have guessed that, huh? Rugrats the Movie is a top-selling game. Air Guys, Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, wow. Goldeneye, jeez. Goldeneye is a top seller in May of 1999. That's unbelievable. Coming soon list. Everything you could possibly want there, right? More ads, lots of ads. You see this. This is when video game magazines were just in their prime, selling lots of ad space. There we get the previews. What is this poll? If you could only pick one, which would you buy? Perfect Dark, Final Fantasy VIII, or a Dreamcast? 42% said Dreamcast. I think it's amazing 21% of people would want Perfect Dark over a Dreamcast. Maybe I'm a little biased. Probably. There's a nice Jammer Lammy 2-page ad. Got some weird tribal tattoos. I mean, that's a sign of the times, right? Okay, now we're getting to the Dreamcast previews. NBA Showtime, Vigilante 8, Second Offense. Now, I admit I didn't actually play either of those games. Street Fighter Alpha 3, I played extensively. Yeah, I love this game. Really, really excellent Street Fighter. And I'm not sure. I think I would have to say it's my favorite Street Fighter on Dreamcast. There are a few Street Fighter games on Dreamcast. Alpha 3 is definitely up there for me. King of Fighters, SNK. Yep. And here we go, another ad for Tokyo Xtreme Racer. I love this game. I have a video on the YouTube channel of Tokyo Xtreme Racer 2. But this series did a lot of really interesting things for the racing genre. It wasn't so much just get on a racetrack and see who can get to the finish first. It was much more interesting that it had, real maps of Tokyo highways, and you would just drive exclusively at night, which was interesting. The cityscape in the background with all the lights and the skyscrapers, and you're going over bridges. It's just beautiful. Beautiful game, really excellent soundtrack, and the racing system is very unique. You catch up to rivals, and then you would flash your high beams at them, and if they wanted to race you, you'd race, and it was almost like an endurance thing. It was each car had a health bar, and if you were in front of the other car, their health bar would go down, and the person who lost all of their health would lose the race. But yeah, really interesting concept, and I love Tokyo Xtreme Racer. Here we go. I mean, this page, Shenmue. Come on, this is the greatest game of all time. I think we all know that. And just below it, so what is this? Hold on, we're getting a little. It's just a tiny preview, a snippet, really, just a paragraph. So it's just talking about these character models, how they're all made out of polygons and rendered in real time with the game engine. So yeah, they were very impressed with how these look. Honestly, when I play Shenmue, I'm still impressed by how this game looks. If you've never seen Shenmue, again, go to the YouTube channel, GG Dreamcast, and watch our playthrough. There's also some videos about sort of hidden endings to Shenmue, and a video on a Japanese demo to Shenmue. All that is really interesting to see if you're a video game enthusiast. Shenmue should be out in Japan this winter, and that was true. It did come out in Japan that winter, and the following year in America. So Fighting Force 2, I love Fighting Force 2. Everyone I've talked to about it says it's a terrible game. I played it so much. I really love that game. Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace for PC, PlayStation. Listen, the Star Wars games of that particular era, Episode 1, they were okay. They weren't great. They were not as good as the earlier Star Wars games by a long shot. But if you like Star Wars, they're fun to mess around with. We've got a quick preview gallery of Dreamcast games. Echo the Dolphin, of course, this game came out. Pretty good if you like Echo. I'm not a huge fan, but it's a beautiful game. At the time, the graphics were amazing. South Park Chef's Love Shack. I never played this. I wasn't a big South Park fan. Seven Mansions, The Uncanny Grimace. I have never heard of this. I suspect this is a canceled game, or maybe it came out in Japan and didn't come out over here. I'll do some research on that. But if you know what Seven Mansions is, let me know in the comments. Virtua Striker 2, it's a classic soccer game. Espion Agents. This is a very sort of unknown game, but it's a good strategy game. This is a great game. I'll have to do a video on this, and I'll put it on the YouTube channel and get a little attention on that one. But good game, definitely not for everybody, but very interesting concept. Here we get a Quake 2 ad. That's a very innovative ad, I guess, or interesting anyway. There's a lot of meat on that page. Virtual On. So we're still previewing Dreamcast games. Virtual On Oratorio Tangram. If you know Sega, if you're a Dreamcast fan, a Sega fan, you're going to know this game. Really great game. A friend of mine, we went to Japan in, 2002 or something, and he found the Dreamcast twin sticks for this game, and I was so envious of that. I never got them myself, but that's basically bringing the arcade game home if you have those twin sticks. But yeah. A pro wrestling game for Japan. Super Producer. I don't know what Super Producer is. I suspect these two are both Japanese release only. Grand Theft Auto 2, of course. A random Hot Wheels game by Electronic Arts. Not sure about that. PlayStation and N64. That tracks for PlayStation and N64 era game. Demolition Racer. This game came out on Dreamcast as well. And this was a fun game. That was a fun game. Another one nobody really talks about these days. Preview for Pokemon Snap. Look at that. And Final Fantasy VIII. Wow. Oh, Final Fantasy VIII came out on the same day as the Dreamcast. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I wonder how it did on the first day sales. I wonder if that pulled any sales away from Dreamcast. Wait a second. You could enter to win a 2000 Toyota Echo? Wow, unbelievable. All you had to do was pre-order Final Fantasy VIII, which you probably wanted to do anyway. Toyota, does anyone know what a Toyota Echo is? I don't know if I've ever heard of a Toyota Echo. I'll have to look that up. N64 preview of Mario Golf. Little Yoshi swinging a club. WCW Mayhem. Rainbow Six. Really great. Really, really great. Just a lot of good memories here. Hydro Thunder. Sega Dreamcast specific ad. This game is great. I mean, again, if you're a Dreamcast fan, you know Hydro Thunder. Dreamcast had so many amazing racers, and this was just another one of them. Just kind of off-the-wall boat racing. Monster Rancher 2, PlayStation game. Hot Wheels Turbo Racing for N64. I think this is the one that we just saw the ad for on the earlier page, right? Yeah, Electronic Arts. Another wrestling game. Turok Rage Wars. Yeah, okay. I was a big fan of Turok on the N64, the first one. I think a friend of mine got Rage Wars, and we definitely played this quite a bit. Big multiplayer game. Destruction Derby. What do we have here? Chess Master. Wow. Resident Evil 2. If you've been keeping up with retro gaming and collecting, Resident Evil has become quite an expensive little franchise there, especially N64, Dreamcast, and Sega Saturn games. Gex 3. The era of the mascot, animal mascot. Winback. Oh, I love Winback. And I think this just became backwards compatible. Or I guess, maybe it's not called backwards compatible, but this game is now available on the Nintendo Switch through the expansion pack service, which I think is a great service. Everybody complains about it, but I mean, for the amount of money, the ability to play these games on a modern system, or even handheld, that's pretty great. But yeah, Winback was great. I remember a lot of people compared it to Metal Gear back in the day, but really nothing like that. This was sort of like a cover shooter. I mean, this is almost like a, obviously not stylistically or aesthetically, but it's kind of like a Gears of War, you know, well before Gears of War would come out. Another wrestling ad. There's lots of wrestling games. I think you're noticing that. This is a Fighter Maker. I never played those, but I do remember it well. A big 2-page preview for Final Fantasy VIII. Obviously, that's a big game. It's going to get the 2-pager. Lots of rather small screenshots here, but that's okay. Crash Team Racing. So I guess now we're in the PlayStation preview. So we get N2. Sold Samurai ad here. Wipeout 3. Oh, Wipeout, of course. Now, again, if I'm flipping through this a little too fast for you, just pause the video. You should be able to see all these well enough to take a look on your own. But this is nice. Nice ad for Star Ocean. The Second Story by Enix. Pre-merger. Madden. Game Day. The root of society's problems now 40% less. Quake 2. I love that they just like leaned into that whole, like, you know, misanthropic murder simulator controversy, I guess. Spyro 2. Wow, look at this. An ad for a Working Designs game. Now this really takes me back to the Sega Saturn era, playing games like Magic Knight Rayearth. Yeah, you do not see this logo anymore, which is kind of a shame. But yeah, here's another Working Designs game. Silhouette Mirage. I've never heard of this one, actually, so maybe I'll look that up and see what it's all about. Here we go, Lunar, another Working Designs game. Obviously, classic game. Published by Working Designs. Very nice. Very nice. Chocobo Racing for PlayStation. That's great. Squaresoft. Again, here we're seeing pre-merger. Squaresoft, And we saw Enix earlier in the Star Ocean. Obviously, they would eventually merge together to become Square Enix, which they remain today. Medal of Honor, the first Medal of Honor game. Wow. Look at this. Goldeneye circa 1941. Obviously, Goldeneye was still on everybody's minds. Electronics Boutique. Who amongst us remembers Electronics Boutique? I know I certainly do. But here we go. It's selling the Dreamcast for $200. $50 for Sonic Adventure. And then we got all of the Pokemons. And look at this. We got a 2-page ad here for Electronics Boutique. This is just a dream lineup. Look at this, man. Star Wars, Mario Golf, GoldenEye. Got the expansion pack, the Rumble Pack, Jet Force Gemini. My buddy absolutely loved this game. And I sat with him and watched him play through the whole thing. I never played it, but I watched him play through it many times. Sonic Adventure Prima Guide. I have this it was probably like somewhere right next to this magazine before I pulled this one out today. I've got this guide. It doesn't look like that. It has the Sonic Adventure art on the cover. But yeah, back when you would get strategy guides in paper form rather than go on the internet, because the internet wasn't too quick and there wasn't a lot of this stuff on there. Dune 2000. What is that? PlayStation game. Is this based on Dune? Is this the game that I heard of that... Yeah, it is. It's based on Dune. That's funny. It's an updated version of a 1992 game called Dune 2. Wow. Considered the granddaddy of all RTS games. If you've played Dune, let me know about it. I'd like to hear about it. Wu-Tang, my brother bought this game. It was so ridiculously violent. It was like, you know, the Wu-Tang version of Mortal Kombat. Ridiculous game. You don't know Jack. G-Police, Metal Gear Solid Integral. Right, so this was the VR missions is what it was called over here. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. This was Metal Gear Solid Integral was released in Japan. And I'm not sure if it was the full game and VR missions. I think it might have been. And then it was brought over here just as VR missions, and we got that as a game. Kind of like a semi-sequel. Not really a sequel. It's just more Metal Gear Solid, minus the story. Tomb Raider, Last Revelation. That eventually came out on Dreamcast as well. Lunar 2. I mean, look at this. This is a great time. Great time for gaming. I mean, I know it's probably going to sound like I'm just waxing nostalgic about it, or I'm like, oh, I wish I could go back. But really, no. There were a lot of great games at this time period. And maybe that's almost a silly thing to say. There are great games at all time periods, so. But it's nice to go back and take a look and remember these games, and maybe see ones that didn't come out. Maybe see some games that came out in Japan and didn't come out over here, or maybe they were canceled and we get to see what could have been. Rival Schools 2, Project Justice on the Dreamcast. Very cool. No word on whether this will come to the States, but don't count on it, since it's more of an expansion pack than a bona fide sequel. So maybe this is different from Project Justice that I've played on Dreamcast. Obviously, this is a PlayStation version. Let me know if you know about that. But I have a video of Project Justice on the GG Dreamcast YouTube channel. I think it's one of the best fighting games on the system. It's really fantastic. A very violent Medal of Honor ad. Trick style ad. This is like hoverboard racing with tricks and things. Played that game a little bit. Here we go. Game Boy preview gallery. I love this, man. I love Game Boy so much. I recently got the Analog Pocket. Hey, look, it's actually right here. Here, we'll do a little sneak peek. This is my Analog Pocket. I just got this. Obviously, Sega fan. I'm playing Sonic Advance. But yeah, what a great system, and really nice to be able to play all of your Game Boy, Game Gear, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Neo Geo Pocket. It's just an incredible system that can do so much, and the screen is unbelievable. Anyway, back to the magazine. Here we go. Another full-page ad for Tomorrow Never Dies. James Bond game. Totally different from Goldeneye in style and tone. Tekken Tag Tournament. Played it a little bit. Don't really remember it much. This is like an arcade preview here, I guess. So not so much. Not so relevant to the Dreamcast stuff. Although there were a lot of arcade games ported to the Dreamcast. From the creators of Resident Evil. Survival horror on a much larger scale. Dino Crisis. I love Dino Crisis. I really, totally different thing to Resident Evil. And I wish it would kind of come back, I wish they would bring it back in some way. Army Men. Oh, man. Oh, and here we go. We're at the feature of the magazine, the cover story. It's finally here, the Sega Dreamcast. As Sega prepares for a record-breaking Dreamcast launch on September 9th, gamers across the nation are buzzing about the system. Still not sure if you want one? Our 27-page look at the Dreamcast games and Sega's game plan will help you make the big decision. I mean, this is an easy-to-answer question. It's here. Should you buy one? Absolutely. You should have back then. If you didn't, you should buy one now. They're unbelievable. But this is a great... I remember looking through this when this magazine first came out and just seeing, the concepts for the Dreamcast, and they talk a little bit about what Sega had planned to do with online gaming and what they were doing in Japan leading up to the launch of the system. And it definitely got me hyped up. There's the fishing controller, which has gone on to become sort of famous in its own right, controlling games that maybe not necessarily were made to be controlled with it, but some interesting advertising here. You got some fishing controller, Dreamcast over there. But here we go. Here's the launch games for the Dreamcast, all listed out. Aero Wings, Air Force Delta, Armada, Blue Stinger, great game. Kart Racing, House of the Dead 2, Hydro Thunder, King of Fighters, Marvel vs. Capcom, really, really great game. This is sort of a dream lineup. Monaco Grand Prix, Mortal Kombat Gold, NFL Blitz, NFL 2K, Power Stone, another amazing Capcom fighter. Rainbow Six, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Slave Zero, another game that people don't really talk about, made by Infogrames. Interesting game. Not great, not bad. Sonic Adventure, of course, the most popular Dreamcast launch game. Soul Calibur, as I said, second highest rated video game of all time. Soul Fighter, publisher to be determined. I'm not sure about that one. Speed Devils, TNN Motorsports, Hardcore Heat. I'm going to say no thank you on that one. Tokyo Xtreme Racer and Trick Style. Yeah, really good launch lineup. Really, really good. Something for everybody. And some games that went on to just be all-time classics in there. Dreamcast Inside and Out, of course. We're getting, I don't know, high bandwidth controller ports, whatever that means, but we're able to see the probably the biggest star of the show here was the included 56K modem, which let the system get online for the first time in home console gaming, and really brought in, sort of ushered in online multiplayer for home console games. But here we got the whole breakdown of the system. If you want, you can pause here and take a look at all of this. There's a lot of information here. And variable speed fan, that's a very funny thing to see, considering how loud the fans are on Dreamcast these days, and how people that mod Dreamcast almost always change the fans out to get better cooling in a quieter system. But anyway, these are just sort of asking various people all over if they're going to buy a Dreamcast when it launches. And here we go, a preview of what EGM considered the 5 games you must buy at launch. Of course, number 1 is Soul Calibur. We've talked about Soul Calibur. Sonic Adventure, number 2, that's an obvious purchase. Here we get another 2-page ad, Monaco Grand Prix, Sega Dreamcast launch game. Ready to Rumble Boxing, very fun game. I played this on the demo that was packed in with the official Dreamcast magazine quite a bit. That's as far as I got with it. I own the game, but I never really have played it beyond what I played in the demo. House of the Dead 2, NFL 2K, House of the Dead 2, also a really, really great game. Kind of a must-buy. I wonder how many people bought this and then also splurged on the peripheral light gun. And here's the rest: Arrow Wings, Air Force Delta. Air Force Delta was a great dogfighting game, sort of like an airplane combat game made by Konami. So yeah, that's a really good launch game. It's very similar to Ace Combat. They even say it here. It's a flight combat game in the same spirit of Namco's Ace Combat series. So yeah, very much that style, that flavor. Armada. I don't know much about Armada. I would love to take a look at that one. I probably will soon. Blue Stinger. Here, let's see what they say about Blue Stinger. What's the skinny? This Resident Evil style 3D adventure. See, I really don't like when they call it Resident Evil style, because Blue Stinger is absolutely, and I said this in my video, or I said this on the game page that I wrote for Blue Stinger, it's very much its own thing. It's not trying to be Resident Evil. The guy who created Blue Stinger had an absolute different vision for the game than what the people that made Resident Evil had, and it's just totally different. It's funny, it's wacky, it's a little scary, but it's action, and it's jokes, it's laughs, it's a good time. It's it takes place at Christmas time, and at one point one of the main characters runs around in a Santa suit for like 2 hours. So it's definitely got a different vibe, and I think it's better for it. But anyway, ignore that. It's not a Resident Evil style game, but it is very good. It says the U.S. publisher Activision, in order to iron out some of its weird little problems, made a new camera system that makes things easier to look at. The speech has been properly synced with the facial animations. That's not true. And the bosses have been jazzed up, making them more of a challenge. It's not a very challenging game. I guess it can be if you play on the harder difficulty levels, but I wouldn't say it's a very difficult game. It's just a fun game. It's typical adventure game stuff. That's what they say. Run around, blow stuff up, and solve puzzles. That's true. Will you like it? It's the only game like this at launch, and deep down it's pretty good. The Japanese version was plagued by stupid problems that now look to be sorted out. This, I don't know why they're saying that. I don't really agree with that. I think the camera in the Japanese system was actually very good, but maybe they didn't like it. I have no idea. But you can see it all on YouTube, so if you're interested, check it out. We got Hydro Thunder, Marvel vs. Capcom. I mean, surely a killer app. Everyone was saying killer app back then. Halo was the Xbox's killer app, right? For any hardcore gamer, Marvel vs. Capcom is the most frenetic 2D punch parade yet. Wow, that's a sentence. This coin-op translation is so perfect you'd swear the DC housed a CPS2 board in its innards. Wow. There's no loading time, so you'll be transported into Marvel Capcom Super Speed Tag Team Fighting Action as fast as you can push the buttons. Yeah, hell yeah, you'll like it. So they were enthusiastic about Marvel vs. Capcom for sure. And most people were. Power Stone's over here. You got a big photo for Power Stone. And they really, did a good job of sort of referencing every launch title and giving a quick look at what you were in for. Tokyo Xtreme Racing. Great game. Love it. Will I like it? It's okay. No one here at EGM was really that enamored with it, although the milkman seemed to be getting into it when he sat down for a few hours. What does that mean? Sega Rally 2 is only a couple of months away, so they're saying maybe wait for that. I say if you want an interesting racing game, get Tokyo Xtreme Racer or its sequel. I believe the first one is less expensive, but the second one is better. So anyway, Dreamcast Online, obviously, look at this. We've got the 56K symbolized here with a nice push-button payphone. Yeah, it was 56K dial-up internet. It worked great. I mean, there was a broadband adapter for the Dreamcast that came out later, which also worked great. But, for what we had at the time, 56K was fine. Played Phantasy Star, played Quake 3 Arena. It did everything we needed it to do, so no problem. Okay, and here we got some of the EGM nerds on their couch playing the Dreamcast. Someone's getting impaled by what looks to be a fake lightsaber. There's a guitar about to be smashed on someone's back. Yeah, just a silly photo shoot here. But they're all each giving their own sort of like one sentence opinion on the launch games and whether or not they're any good, I guess. Chris Johnston of Sonic Adventure. Good God, I'm going to be sick this game so fast. I know what you mean. I'm just going to stare at the floor for a while. Let me know when it's my turn to play. Obviously, they're having a little editorial fun with it here. Not so much a real review, but something fun. And they mimicked the aesthetic of the Dreamcast console box. If you remember, the Dreamcast had this sort of like color gel key light sort of portraits of the system itself, and they kind of mimicked that here in their photo shoot, which I think is actually pretty cool. A nice ad for WinBack. We talked about WinBack. Dreamcast Peripherals. We got a light gun. The VMU. Oh man, you've got to love the VMU. I've got one right here, of course. Of course I do. Rumble Pack. So yeah, they're diving deep here. Is the Dreamcast keyboard, fishing controller. Oh, the classic arcade stick. An Atlas game, Tail Concerto. I'm not sure what this is. I don't know about it. I'll have to look it up. I'm a big fan of Atlas, though. Dreamcast expandability. This is probably what they were talking about. What did the Dreamcast have? It had a webcam. It had a karaoke machine. Had a drive system. Zip drives, I think it was. These are just peripherals, I guess. Review crew. We get a little spotlight of everybody. So here we got some reviews for the month of September. NFL Blitz, Command and Conquer, Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem did pretty poorly. Highest score it got was a 6.5. Mario Golf did pretty good. 7.5 to 9s. Pokemon Snap, solid 8s. I wonder if we'll get Dreamcast reviews in this article. Maybe it was too new. Driver was hugely popular at the time. Solid 8s on that. Ooh, Tarzan looking pretty bad. Conker's Pocket Tales got a 7. They only got one person to review that. Looney Tunes 4.5. It's a Game Boy game. Pokemon Pinball got an 8. R-Type. Wow. Look at this, an ad for the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I love it. Look at those colorways, I guess you'd call them. You got the carbon fiber one, the sort of clear, translucent one. Man, those are great. I don't see these ones too often for sale these days. I see the carbon one, I see the silver one, and the blue one. I don't really see these three. Very nice. Here's a review archive. Reader reviews. Okay, very cool. Here we got some tricks, right? Some codes, cheats, and tips and tricks. Driver, once again. Very popular game back then. I don't know if anything has been done with Driver for a long time, but it was huge when it came out, the first one. The iMac of Discman, wow. Wouldn't the iMac of Discman be the iPod? I guess it wasn't out yet, right? First iPod came out in 2000, right? 2000 or 2001? Tough to remember. I've got one. Just can't remember when it came out. This is an interesting editorial. Cost of development, death of innovation. So this must be talking about how the rising cost of game development might homogenize the industry, I guess, make it more, blockbusters, AAAs, and all that. Here we go, GameCave.com. What is this? You can just buy these games. Ghost in the Shell action figures, Final Fantasy action figures, Vampire Savior. Here we go, Pokemon figures. Import music. Do I have any of these? Nope. These are all Zelda and PlayStation, it looks like. Wall scrolls, that's hilarious. And we're at the end of the magazine here. Game Shark, an ad for Game Shark. Very nice. And then on the back cover, we have one of the 4 well-known Dreamcast ads from back in around launch. You see, this says 0.03. There were 4 different versions of these ads, and each one had a different picture, and each one had its own sort of focus. Obviously, this is one saying that it has an artificial intelligence. Even if your memory doesn't fail you, it can't help you because the Dreamcast is thinking, right? That was the catchphrase, it's thinking. So very cool to see this. I'm sure if we go through more of these magazines, we'll see the others for the Dreamcast. But yeah, a little bit different today. A little bit of not gameplay. We're just kind of going through a magazine. May not be for everyone, but just sort of a chill little experience to go down memory lane and look at this old EGM. If you enjoyed this, let me know about it because I want to sort of go through every one of the official Dreamcast magazines. I have every issue of that magazine that ever came out. So I think it would be cool to just sort of go through those and talk about everything that we're seeing in there. So if you want me to do that, if you enjoyed this, just let me know about it in the comments below. Give a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any uploads. I would really appreciate it. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this video and we will talk to you next time.